It takes us 6 months to go from realizing we can use our hand to realizing that we need to rotate it to grab an object. And that's really basic proprioception. Hi guys, welcome back to the Science Factory's YouTube channel. As you probably know, my name is Mr. Brian, and I'm really excited about this video because we're going to start a whole series on the senses. Now, there's 5 senses that everybody knows about, but there's actually a lot more senses than that, and scientists are still debating how many senses we actually have. So in this series, we're going to be doing some informational videos about the senses, as well as some tests that you can run at home to test your sense of proprioception, equilibrioception, and all sorts of other ceptions. If you're new to our channel, my wife and I started a summer camp about 10 years ago, and on this channel we share some of our favorite games, activities, science experiments, art projects, and more. We put out new videos every Wednesday and Friday, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and click all notifications to make sure you don't miss anything. So the sense that we're going to be testing today is called proprioception, and it's kind of a weird sense that you've probably never realized that you even have. Proprioception is your body's ability to tell where it is in space. Our sense of proprioception gets its information from stretch receptors that are placed throughout our body. Those receptors tell our brain where our body is in space and also what position our limbs are in. So, for example, if I have my eyes closed, I can still touch my fingers together. Without a sense of proprioception though, that wouldn't be possible. Proprioception is also how we keep ourselves from becoming injured by overextending our joints when we're doing things like running or shooting a basketball or playing sports in general. To demonstrate this sense, first we're going to start with the hand reversal illusion. Now, the hand reversal illusion requires that you cross-fold your hands, which is kind of tricky. So you're going to take your hands and point your palms away from each other with your thumbs down, cross one over the other, interlock your fingers, and flip your hand up. Next, you're going to need to borrow a friend. Your friend's job is going to be to point to one of your fingers without touching them, and your job is going to be to try to move that finger without moving any of your other fingers. Uh-oh. No? Aha. Ooh, I got that one. Oh no. There we go. I don't know about you, but I certainly found this challenging. When your hands are cross-folded and twisted upward, your visual and your proprioceptive senses are giving your body conflicting information. And so your brain can get easily confused and make you move the wrong finger. This conflict doesn't happen if your friend actually touches the finger or if they tell you which finger to move. For example, no matter where your hand is, if your eyes are closed, you know how to wiggle your index finger. What's really crazy is that researchers are still debating why this trick even works. Some scientists think that because your proprioceptive and your visual senses are giving your brain different information, you get confused and it's difficult for your brain to process which finger is which by looking at them. But other scientists disagree with this hypothesis and think that there's another cause. This is one of my favorite things about science. There's always new things to discover. So who knows, maybe you could be the one that figures this out. Now, our main experiment today has multiple different challenge levels. We're going to start really easy, and then we're going to ramp things up, making each step a little bit more challenging. I want you to try each of these challenges 5 to 10 times, and let us know how you did in the comments down below. I'm especially curious to see how you guys do on hard and expert mode. For the easy challenge, you're going to close your eyes and have a friend take your arm and point it either at a wall, the ceiling, or the floor. Tell them to make sure that they're very clear about where the hand is pointing and not to put your hand in between the ceiling and the wall. Once they've let go of your hand, your job is to tell them where your hand is pointing. For example, if my hand was here, I would say it's pointing to the left, right, up, and down. Now this shouldn't be challenging at all for any of you at home because this is the easiest level of proprioception. In order to appreciate our sense of proprioception, we've got to step it up a little bit more. For the medium challenge, you're going to again close your eyes, and your friend's going to take your hand and put it anywhere that they want in space. Your job is to then take your other hand and touch the pointer finger to your palm. Check. Check. When you're doing this, try to keep one hand still and only move the other hand. you don't want to bring your hands together. For the hard challenge, you're going to do the same thing again, except this time, both of your hands are going to have the pointer fingers out. So your friend is going to move your hand somewhere in space, and you want to touch your pointer fingers together in an arcing motion like this. Did you start to feel like this was at least a little bit challenging? If you repeat this experiment 5 or 10 times, most people will have a little bit of trouble touching their fingertips together at some point. But hey, maybe your sense of proprioception is excellent. The expert challenge is again going to require you to close your eyes and have your friend put your hand somewhere in space. But this time, you're not allowed to do an arcing motion. Instead, you have to go in a straight line to your finger. For some reason, this makes it a lot more difficult. That's kind of funny. I've done this before, and I still missed a couple of times. Now, if you got 5 out of 5 on expert mode, you probably still don't appreciate your sense of proprioception very much. So I have a thought experiment for you, but I don't want you to try this one at home. Imagine that you had a needle and some thread, and you tried to thread the needle with your eyes closed. Now, this isn't a perfect analogy because the needle and the thread aren't part of your body, but you can imagine that you could put the needle and the thread right at your fingertips, so it would be pretty close, and you'd be able to practice and get better at it. Can you imagine having such good proprioception that you could actually thread a needle with your eyes closed? That would be pretty incredible, right? Most of us are going to have good enough proprioception to be able to do hard or expert mode, but you might notice that that test is based on the size of your finger. And that makes sense because we only need enough accuracy to be able to use the tools that nature gave us. Proprioception is kind of an interesting sense to me because it has different functions that don't seem to be related at first. For example, in this video, we showed you how to test your proprioception by testing your body's awareness of where your limbs are in space. But proprioception is also important for not injuring yourself. When you sprain your ankle, you actually damage the muscles in your musculoskeletal system, and that has negative effects on your sense of proprioception. After you sprain your ankle, your body takes some time to relearn where your ankle is in space, and that's why it's so easy to re-injure your ankle. Plus, the ankle might be damaged from the last time you injured it, so on top of being easier to re-injure, it also is going to hurt more the second or third time. If you have a problem where you keep re-injuring the same joint, you can actually go to a physical therapist and they can help you work on your proprioception for that joint so that you can recover and understand where your body is in space more accurately. If you've ever woken up to one of your limbs being asleep, you know how weird it is not to have a sense of proprioception. Because when you wake up and your arm is completely numb, not only do you not have feeling in that arm, but you've also lost your sense of proprioception. And so it can surprise you when you wake up because your arm is over here and you expect it to be somewhere else. It's really odd not having any idea where your limbs are in space, and it just goes to show that even though we don't think about our sense of proprioception, we all have it. In extreme cases, your sense of proprioception can be so damaged that you can have difficulty walking or completing tasks without looking at your limbs while they're doing those tasks. This is an extremely rare condition, but I did read about one example of a man who has to look at his feet in order to walk because he's almost completely lost his sense of proprioception. Can you imagine how inconvenient that would be? It'd be so difficult to multitask. One more really interesting thing about the sense of proprioception is its development in young babies. Babies usually discover their hands by about 2 months old, meaning that they realize that they're in control of their hands and they get really fascinated with their hands. It takes another full month for babies to realize that they can touch their hands together. And it takes until about 8 months for babies to realize that they need to rotate their hand 90 degrees in order to grab an object based on its orientation in space. That just goes to show you how much we should appreciate our sense of proprioception. It takes us 6 months to go from realizing we can use our hand to realizing that we need to rotate it to grab an object. And that's really basic proprioception. I hope that this video helped you gain an appreciation for your sense of proprioception and that you're really excited for our other videos. We're going to do a video on each of the senses, so I'd love to know what your favorite is. Please let us know your favorite sense in the comments down below. We're going to be sharing informational videos as well as experiments and tests that you can run on your own body to explore your own abilities and senses at home. But until then, I'm Mr. Brian, and I'll see you guys next week. This is the part of the video where I usually share some jokes with you guys, but all the jokes I found on this topic are just too inappropriaceptive.